Hi, everyone. Okay. Oh my God, Olinda. Oh my God. This is part four of The Ordinary Princess. It's called I Shall Be Queen. Look at her. She's so merry there. Look at her. And there's Pemberthy. Really? Look at her. Anyway, the Birches. The Ordinary Princess was feeding the last of the cake crumbs to Peter Aurelius and watching the man of all work making a necklace out of acorn cups strung on a grass stem. The evening sunlight was throwing long shafts of gold between the mossy tree trunks of the forest, and all around them birds were singing in the green thickets. This has been quite the nicest day of my life, thought the ordinary princess, and she thought, too, that the nice young man was easily the most nicest person she had ever met. It is because he is an ordinary sort of person. Like me, she decided. And indeed a more ordinary person than the man of all work you could not wish to see. His velvet doublet was stained with moss and rather torn, where he had caught it on a branch while climbing an oak tree to pick acorns. His hair was very ruffled and full of bits of bark, and he had a smudge on his nose. As he strung the acorn cups on the grass stem, he whispered softly to himself, "Lavender's blue, rosemary's green, when I am king, you shall be queen." "There," he said, finishing the necklace and dropping it onto the ordinary princess's lap. "Be careful of it, or it will break." "It's simply lovely," said the ordinary princess, "and I shall keep it forever and ever." "I don't expect it will last that long," laughed the man of all work. He lay back against the green moss and the twisty tree roots and gazed up happily at the crisscrossy pattern of branches over his head. They had had a beautiful afternoon. The ordinary princess had managed to get away early from the castle, and as soon as she came within sight of the 3 silver birches on the edge of the forest, she saw that the nice young man was already there, waiting for her. He told her that he had been able to get the afternoon off without too much trouble, and he had bought a basket full of cakes, sandwiches, and apples. He made friends at once with Mr. Pemberthy and Peter Aurelius, and after hiding the basket under a wild rose bush at the foot of an old oak tree, they had gone off to explore, or gone off into the explore. They had all gone off into the forest to explore. Later they had climbed trees and played at ninepins with fir cones and crab apples. The young man had also shown the ordinary princess how to lie flat on the bank of a stream with her arm in the water and flip the little silvery, slippery trout out from under the stones and onto the grass. Together they had caught 5, and though they had thrown them all back at once, they had both got very wet, moss-stained, and excited, and had enjoyed themselves enormously. Like the idea of being ordinary means that you go out and you experience the world and you have fun. That is an ordinary thing. Mr. Pemberthy had visited his friends among the treetops, and Peter Aurelius had topped and pecked and flown around among the bushes. When tea time came round, they picnicked under the biggest oak tree they could find, and laughed and talked together as if they had known each other for always. "Kitchen maid," said the nice young man suddenly, flipping an acorn at the ordinary princess. "What is your name?" "Amy," said the ordinary princess, catching the acorn neatly and handing it to Mr. Pemberthy. "Nice name. It suits you," said the nice young man, adding in tones of immense scorn, "Persephone indeed." "Who?" said the ordinary princess, looking rather startled. The young man looked a little confused. "I'm only thinking," he said, "what silly names people have." "Why, I should like to know," inquired the young man hotly. "Can't more people have nice, sensible, pretty names like Amy?" "I suppose you mean the Princess Persephone," said the ordinary princess. "I don't know why it is, but princesses always do seem to have rather fussy names. You couldn't imagine a princess called Amy, now could you?" "No, I don't see why not," said the young man. "Perfectly good name for anyone. I know we haven't been properly introduced, but I shall call you Princess Amy." The ordinary princess smiled to herself. "And what shall I call you?" she asked. "My friends call me Peregrine," said the nice young man. "Well, I'm your friend, aren't I?" said the ordinary princess, and she stood up and held out her hand for him. "Of course," said Peregrine, the man of all work, jumping up and taking it. So they took hands and laughed at each other, and everything is the cutest thing I've ever read. "Peter Aurelius and Mr. Pemberthy," said the ordinary princess, "permit me to introduce you to a friend of mine, Peregrine." "Qua!" said Peter Aurelius politely. "Princess Amy," said the man of all work, "allow me to present a friend of mine, Prince Peregrine." "I am honored, sir," said the ordinary princess, sweeping an elegant court curtsy. "You said that just like a real princess," laughed Peregrine. The ordinary princess straightened up from her curtsy rather hurriedly, and said that it was high time they started back to the castle. "Look," she said, "you can see the evening star already." And sure enough, the sun had gone down, and between the tree trunks of the forest they could see the evening star twinkling in the apricot-colored sky above the distant rooftops of the city. "We shall have to hurry," said the ordinary princess, "or we shall be dreadfully late and get locked out when they close the castle gates at sundown. Besides, I'm on duty after dinner." So they ran back to Amber in the twilight and arrived at the back gate that leads to the kitchen quarters, quite breathless and very dusty. "May I come and picnic with you, Mr. Pemberthy and Peter Aurelius, this day fortnight, if I can manage to get off again?" asked Peregrine. "Do," said the ordinary princess. "Then I'll meet you at the 3 silver birch trees again," said Peregrine, And I don't know when I've enjoyed myself so much before. Good night, Princess Amy. Good night, Prince Peregrine, said the ordinary princess, and she slipped through the back gate and vanished into the kitchen. You know, it is possible that maybe he isn't the king, but I still think that that's who this is. After that, the hardest or messiest work never seemed quite so hard or so messy to the ordinary princess. The days seemed to fly past. And she would sing to herself as she scoured pots and pans, peeled potatoes, or washed dishes. Lavender's blue, rosemary's green, when you are king, I shall be queen. And she sang it so gaily that even the grumpiest cook had to smile. Every second Thursday, she would fetch Mr. Pemberthy and Peter Aurelius, and they would all go off to meet Peregrine by the 3 silver birch trees at the edge of the forest. They spent the most delightful afternoons exploring and paddling in the pools and streams. Peregrine had made her a bow and arrows out of willow stems and taught her how to shoot at a circle that they cut with his penknife in the bark of an oak tree. One day he brought a large bundle under one arm, as well as a picnic basket. "What's that?" asked the ordinary princess. "Wait and see," said the Peregrine. When they reached their favorite oak tree, he opened the bundle. Inside was an axe, a little saw, a box of long nails, a hammer, and some rope. "Okay, I thought it would be fun to build ourselves a house to picnic in when the winter comes," said Peregrine. The ordinary princess clapped her hands with joy. "You do have the nicest idea of anyone I know," she said. "Now where shall we build it?" In the end, they chose a lovely spot in a tiny open glade in the forest. 2 silver birch trees grew in the middle of it, and the little spring bubbled out of the moss close by. They cut stout branches of oak, beech, and fir, sawed them into proper length, and hammered them deep into the earth to make the walls. Across these they nailed other pieces of wood and made a roof of willow branches, pine boughs, and ferns. By the way, I would have no clue how to do this. None at all. I would be so hopeless. I would not be hopeful. I'd have no hope. They worked tremendously hard and got very hot, breathless, and happy. It took several second Thursdays before it was finished, but at last it was done. They had carpeted the floor of the little house with the brightest green moss they could find, and had cut more squares of moss to thatch the roof. The house had 2 windows and a door that opened and shut. And though the windows had no glass in them and the door did not lock, that did not worry them at all. They were extremely proud of their work. "What shall we call it?" asked the ordinary princess. "Don't let's call it anything palacey or castle-ish. Let's give it a nice ordinary sort of name." "Let's call it the Birches," said Peregrine. "That's ordinary enough, and besides there are 2 silver birches right beside the door." So, the Birches it became. And next time they came to the forest, Peregrine brought a bottle of ginger ale with him, and the ordinary princess smashed the bottle over the door, exactly as she'd seen her royal mamma smash bottles of champagne over the prows of a royal papa's new ships, and said, "I name you the Birches." The ginger ale trickled down the door and soaked into the moss, and Peter Aurelius tried to drink it. This is like the most adorable thing ever. Autumn had come again, and in the forest the leaves were turning red, amber, and gold, and the thickets were full of blackberries and hazelnuts, rose hips and thorn apples. But at the castle, Queen Hedwig and her daughter, the Princess Persephone, still stayed and stayed. It did not look as though they were ever going to leave. Oh boy. "I do wish to goodness they'd go, or that the king would make up his mind and marry her, or something," said the ordinary princess one day to Peregrine. "Why?" asked Peregrine, his mouth rather full of blackberries. "Because having so very many visitors makes an awful lot of extra work for kitchen maids," sighed the ordinary princess. "You wouldn't believe how much. And Ethelinda says that Queen Hedwig won't go until she's managed to marry her daughter to King Algernon." "Perhaps he doesn't want to marry her," said Peregrine, taking another mouthful of blackberries. He's like, "I'm just going to shove food in my mouth because I don't want to talk." "Well, she's awfully pretty," said the ordinary princess. "I saw her once. Haven't you seen her up close?" "Once or twice," said Peregrine. "What's she like?" "Like a princess," said Peregrine. The ordinary princess threw a very squashy blackberry at him and hit him on the nose. "That's a silly answer," she said. "No, it isn't," said Peregrine, wiping blackberry juice out of his eye. "I've worked at the castle for quite a long time, and if you'd seen as many princesses as I have, you'd know what I mean. They're almost alike as peas in a pod." The ordinary princess smiled a little secret smile to herself and said, "Tell me about princesses, Perry." "Well, first of all, they are very beautiful," said Peregrine, leaning back against a tree trunk and taking off the points on his fingers. Look, he's doing it here. This is the color illustration. That's so neat. Then, secondly, and thirdly, and fourthly, they all have long golden hair, blue eyes, and most lovely complexions. Fifthly and sixthly, they are graceful and accomplished. Seventhly, they have names like Persephone, Sapphire, and Roxanne. And lastly, said Peregrine, running out his fingers, they are all excessively proper and extremely dull. Except when they are make-believe princesses who are really kitchen maids. I just had a moment where I freaked out because I thought I figured out who she was. Oh my god. That's just what I've always thought about, princess. Oh, that's what I've always thought about princes, said the ordinary princess. All of them? Asked Peregrine. All except the make-believe ones who are really men of all work, said the ordinary princess. Oh my god. Oh my god. Then they both laughed and went back to the castle hand in hand. Now, just about this time it happened that the ordinary princess's old nurse, Marta, came to the city of Amber on a visit to her sister's niece, who had married a merchant of Amber Geldar. Oh my god. Nurse Marta's sister niece had a large and jolly family of children who loved going for picnics, and Nurse Marta's sister's niece's husband was particularly fond of blackberry and apple pie. So one late autumn day, when there was beginning to be a nip in the air, Nurse Marta and her sister's niece, and her sister's niece's husband, and all 8 children were picnicking in the forest to collect blackberries. It's going to happen, isn't it? Now Nurse Marta was rather stout and short of breath, so instead of rambling through the forest with the others, she sat herself down on a nice comfortable clump of grass with her back to a tree trunk. In spite of the time of year, the sun was very warm that day, and there was not a breeze stirring in the forest. Nurse Marta dozed. And so it happened that the ordinary princess, coming running around the tree trunk, tripped over Nurse Marta's feet and fell right into her lap. "Help!" cried Nurse Marta, waking up very suddenly. I'm so sorry," apologized the ordinary princess, picking herself up. "I didn't know that anyone was—" She stopped rather quickly. "Why, Marta!" gasped the ordinary princess. "Mercy me, your highness," gasped Nurse Marta. "Oh, your highness." "Oh, do hush, please," begged the ordinary princess. But it was too late. "What's all this about highness?" asked Peregrine, who had been running after her. They had been playing tag. Oh my god. "Nothing," said the ordinary princess hurriedly. "Nothing at all. I think this old woman has made a mistake." She frowned very hard at Nurse Marta. But her old nurse was far too excited and upset to take any notice of mere frowns. "Oh, your highness, wherever have you been?" she cried, and she caught the ordinary princess in her arms and kissed her and hugged and cried over her. "We thought you were lost. Oh, Princess Amy, how could you, my lamb? Your dress, it's got holes in it, and no shoes on. You'll catch your death of cold. What would your royal mamma say if she could see you now?" Oh, no. How is Peregrine... Oh, how is he going to react to this? She went on, and the ordinary princess could do nothing to stop her, till at last she ran out of breath and sat down heavily among the tree roots and wrung her hands. By which time, of course, it was far too late to pretend any more, and the ordinary princess patted Nurse Marta's plump shoulder and said that she was quite all right, that if Nurse Marta would write down her address, she would come and see her and explain everything. So when Nurse Marta had stopped panting, she gave the ordinary princess her address, and having promised faithfully not to breathe a word of the affair to anyone, she curtsied several times in an agitated sort of way, and went off between the tree trunks, still wringing her hands. After she had gone, there was a long silence. The ordinary princess was looking rather ashamed of herself, and Peregrine was frowning. Presently he said, frowning more than ever, "So, you were a real princess all this time. Amy, you are a little fibber, and for 2 pins, said Peregrine, "I'd give you a good hard spanking." The ordinary princess stopped looking ashamed of herself and giggled instead. Good reaction. "You can't spank a royal highness," she said. "Can't I?" said Peregrine, looking quite as if he could. But the ordinary princess tugged at his velvet sleeve with her little blackberry-stained hand and said, "But it's not my fault, Perry. I can't help being a princess. And anyway, it doesn't make any difference, does it?" she added anxiously. "No," said Peregrine, and he smiled his nice smile. "It won't make any difference to me. But what about you? You are a royal highness, and I am only a man of all work." "Oh. Okay. Well, if he's the king, I thought he would admit it there, like, oh, by the way. What does that matter? I should like you every bit as much I should like you every bit as much if you'd turn out to be a coal heaver," said the ordinary princess hotly. "So there. I'll remember that when I'm a coal heaver," promised Peregrine. "And now suppose you sit down and tell me how it is that a princess came to be a kitchen maid." So they both sat down on the moss and the fallen leaves, and the ordinary princess told him all about everything, right from the very beginning. And he left such a lot that they quite forgot the time and had to run all the way back to the castle for fear of being locked out when the gates were shut. "Good night, Prince Peregrine," called the ordinary princess, slipping in at the back door. "Good night, kitchen maid," called Peregrine. "Ha!" said Peter Aurelius. Mr. Pemberthy said nothing at all, because he was sound asleep already, curled in a little furry ball in the ordinary princess's apron pocket. He continued to sleep so soundly that she hadn't the heart to disturb him, so she hung up her apron on a hook in her cupboard and went down to help with the dishwashing without it. Okay, make another video. Keep going.